this whole conversation around sovereignty, agency of the continent when it comes to the architecture and its participation in global discussions, the special drawing rights really is one that has, elicited very different types of opinions. Whether a common position is available or is possible. What is your perspective on whether the SDRs conversation is one that we should be focusing on as a transformative agenda, or whether it is a distraction from the real issues of dealing with global architectural reforms and advancing the African financial architecture to rid ourselves of the African debt burden?
Situating this conversation, you just look at three things, or three processes that happened on this continent. Three processes that happened on this continent. The slavery that laid the foundation of Africa's development. Then came what was called the legitimate trade that actually laid the foundation of unequal relations or unequal exchange. And then colonialism that then brought about the issues of domination and subordination. And so that has informed how the global architecture actually has been designed. It has informed how Africa engages with the rest of the world, is from a subordinate position. And if you look at how SDRs are allocated, using the IMF quota system, it follows that system of domination. It follows that system of subordination. We get the largest share, and then we can negotiate on how we reallocate to you, and the means through which we reallocate that, it is us who defines that, or it is the systems that we've created to keep you in that subordinate position that determines how we reallocate these resources. It is actually scandalous that Africa as a continent, we received $33.8 billion, while the US received $113 billion. These SDRs were to support our countries deal with the COVID crisis, help to procure vaccines. But I think I was looking at statistics last week, it's only 10 African countries as of last week that have managed to vaccinate its nurses in totality, only 10. We're talking about nurses. And so unless the continent comes together, and approach this thing in a coordinated manner, we will not be able to change that structural system that continues to perpetuate the inequality or the unequal power relations that exist at the global level. There is an opportunity, for example, next year, with the starting of the reform of the IMF quota system. I think the continent needs to see that as an opportunity of starting to deal with some of the structural issues. We need to find a way in which the continent coordinates itself and builds alliances, for example. I'm thinking of, maybe we've not paid much attention, but the opportunity that BRICS countries bring to this continent. How can we align with the BRICS countries to push for the reform of the international financial architecture, to push for the reform of the IMF quota system, a process that will be starting next year. So that is an immediate opportunity that the continent should already be thinking about. There's also a worrying trend. We are seeing the African Union, for example, likely to be co-opted into the G20. There has been the clamor of the G20 plus one. And I think it's not morally right for an entire continent to have one seat among, just within the G20. So, and then also, how will we be represented in the other processes that the G20 leads on? We need to take power back. We need to take power back to the UN system, where we deal with each other on an equal basis, not not being co-opted in structures that perpetuate these unequal power relations.